who will help us getting this justice over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karim. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to read this email that I referred to that was signed by Nick Hurd and Alok Sharma, which said, the inquiry will not delay the conclusion of the police inquiry, which will draw on the fire investigation. If criminal proceedings result from these investigations, they will be a matter for the independent prosecution authorities, and we would not expect them to be delayed by the establishment of the public inquiry. And of course, the opposite happened. And this was signed by Alok Sharma and Nick Hurd. And probably you didn't even receive that letter, because this was on the 24th of June, and probably you were going from hospital to hospital or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it's a very, when you talk about learning lessons, perhaps we should learn that lesson. I just wonder actually whether we could hear from some of the women. We have a lot of strong women involved in this situation. Actually, Flora's just arrived as well. But I wondered if Sister Mariam, who's actually herself a survivor, but she's going to speak for Hayat El Sanusi, who lost her sister and her nephew and her niece. And Mariam, if you can just say what Hayat has expressed with you, because sometimes it's just very difficult for people to actually speak in front of the camera, so they've had their discussion before. And keep it brief. We're going to try to keep it brief because I know you've got other things.
Hello, my name is Mariam Adam. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm sorry, my English is not that good enough, but I want to tell you my feeling and my Auntie Hayat feeling. I asked my auntie a question, how she feel after 7 years. And to be honest, it was really, really sad what she said to me. She said to me, Mariam, on the 17th of June, I didn't lose just my sister. I lost my supporting sister, the one I grew up with her. And we're raising her family together. And she said to me, I came from Sudan. And when I came here, I accept all the way they treated me. I accept to stay in the hotel for 4 years, eating jungle food. And I said, okay, no problem what is happening. One day I'm going to get the justice. And she said, before I came here, before Greenfield, I had really a very good idea about Great Britain. That is like they said in our country, they said Sudan is like the third country in the world. And Britain, it is the first country. And she said to me, I was waiting for all these 7 years for justice, just for justice. And they stay here for 7 years just for justice. And she said, and I was thinking, no one up to the law. But I found that it is not true. And I'm really sorry to feel that. She said, I lost my sister, my beloved sister, her 2 young children, her nephew and her niece, very succeeded. They are studying university. So they came just to celebrate their mom, the Eid with their mom, but they, inshallah, I hope, they're Eid in heaven. And she said, we only things we are asking is justice. So she said, I'm here, and I'm living here, and I'm so worried to happen what happened to my sister. And in our belief, justice is more important because if you don't charge someone in criminal is going to continue. And what happened to Greenfield is going to happen to the others if we're not charged. So, and I believe for my inside, truth is going to win, and the law is going to win. And I'm waiting that to happen. And I wish if I can do anything to get the justice for my family. And I hope that is going to happen. Myself also, I have a very good memory with Auntie Fathia. When I moved in Greenfield, 2008, she was the first person I met in the lift. And the first person welcomed me in that family. And I hope the 72 people, they pass away. There is some children, I look after them in Greenfield nursery. And even some of them, I don't know if they were living in Greenfield. I found just after the fire. So please, please, I want really justice for them. And inquiry is finished. Even now, we don't have anyone to fight for us. And Hayat, she's really not feeling well. And I think no one feeling well. Even we are just a Greenfield resident, we are not feeling well. What about this lost their best loved ones? So I'm here because just to tell my voice, my Auntie Hayat voice. And I'm sorry, I don't want to cry here. I'm not here to cry. I am here just for justice. And I hope everyone, he has a hand what happened and to be charged, because really we want to stop what happened to Greenfield to not happen to anyone. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariam. I hope you're okay. I'll come talk to you in a minute. I just want to keep it really focused now, because I know we've kept the press here for a while, and we want to hear from as many voices as possible. So if I just move across, Marian, would you like to speak? Marian is here with her mother, Betty, and Mary Mendy and Khadija Say, the very talented artists that you have probably heard from. Mary Mendy is Betty's sister. So Marian is going to speak on behalf of her mother. And I think, just so that we can hear from lots of voices, I don't mean to cut anyone short, but let's just try to keep it moving.
I'm really sorry, but I don't really know what to say. We've heard some of the information about greed and dishonesty, and it was really hard for us to hear those words. And I just want everybody else to remember, this is about 72 people who lost their lives. And all we ask for is for someone to take responsibility, manslaughter charges to be brought in. We don't want misconduct in public place, anything like that. My mother lost her sister, her niece. Her sister is the one who brought her into this country, and she also brought me into this country. She took care of me. She did everything for me possible to become the person I am today. So I just want people to remember the 72 people who lost their lives. All we demand is justice for them, and for somebody to remember them. That these were people that lived and have dreams. Khadija's life was lost so short that everything she dreamt of happened after she passed away, and that shouldn't be what we should remember her for. We shouldn't have to remember her that because she lost her life in Grenfell. And I just want justice for them to know that we fought really, really hard for them. We didn't just stand by and watch what happened to them. We fought, we tried everything possible, with Camilla's help, everything possible to try and get them justice. The Bible says, do not kill, thou shalt not kill. So we demand justice for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marion. That was very well put. And I would like to go to Mrs. Jabari. Mrs. Jabari lost 5 members of her immediate family, her daughter, her grandchildren, and her son-in-law, the Al-Wahabi family. She's going to speak through an interpreter. And so, if I can just give a bit of housekeeping here. If Mrs. Jabari says what she wants to say, and you write the English and do it in one go instead of sentence by sentence, yeah? So keep it sharp. Say what you want to say in one go. Sorry, 85% of the people who died in Grenfell Tower were black and brown British citizens. And this has actually been a major challenge in the government response to this disaster. There was systemic racism, although the inquiry report concludes there wasn't. But they sort of said, if we find it, and look, we won't look for it, but if we come across it, we'll deal with it. But I was reading the report last night, which is not my ideal thing to read, and it actually, it's in the executive summary, I think, that Sir Martin Morbeck says there was no evidence of racism at all.
I have suffered a lot during 5 years and endured a lot because of the big loss. I lost my daughter with her children and her husband. And we have been waiting all that time for justice to be done, but nothing is implemented. They gave us a compensation, but it will not make up for the big loss I had. And I have been so ill, and I am enduring a lot because of what happened. And I still suffer from that post-traumatic disorder. We don't deserve to be treated as such. We need justice to be done because it's a big loss. It was a big loss. And we're still waiting for justice to be done, but nothing is done. I still suffer from what happened. I still suffer from post-traumatic disorder. In fact, I endured a lot because I lost my daughter with her children and her husband, 5 people in one go. But still justice is not implemented. What happened is a catastrophe, but the inquiries come to an end and nothing is done about it. All we got is a little amount of money compensation that wouldn't make up for the loss, the big loss I had.
Did you want to say anything else, Mrs. Jabari? Are you okay? Thank you very much. Can I go to Francis, Francis Dean. If Francis, you can stand up, because Zainab Dean and Jeremiah Dean, her little toddler, passed away in the fire. And without telling the whole story, which Francis finds very traumatizing, I think you should appreciate that though the names and numbers and so on are there, the story of actually what people experience is so harrowing. And for Francis, he was captured on the police camera as he was on the phone to Zainab in the tower, begging her to come out. And he stayed on the phone with her, passed the phone to the firefighter to speak with her because he just couldn't take it anymore. And she described how her son had passed away in front of her, and then the firefighter passed the phone back to him and just said, "Tell her you love her." And then the phone died. So I tell you that, not to be gruesome, but I think you have to realize that the people sitting behind, in front of you, have had 7 years of going into the minutiae of the details and living and reliving it, and through the inquiry. And so the inquiry process itself actually becomes quite a traumatizing or re-traumatizing process in itself. So there are a lot of lessons to be learned about how this was done and the order in which it was done. And then to end up where the fire brigade as an organization, or the individual firefighters, are essentially off the hook. I think that has made a lot of people quite angry as well, because they're the ones that suffered the loss of life. So Francis, if you want to speak about whatever you want to speak about, and feel free to speak about the firefighters as well, because I know they're sort of almost like untouchable in terms of this story.
Well, thank you, Kimia. First of all, I want to thank the press for coming. Thanks for your support. And also, I want to thank Sir Martin Mobic for the report. I guess they've done a very hard work. It's taken 7 years to get to this point. But for me, I think 7 years is delay of justice, because we deserve justice. I mean, if I could go back to the night of the event, look how fast the building catch fire. It takes like 10 minutes, you know, and nobody is to be blamed, and everyone is just passing the blame to each other. Is that fair? That 72 lives died, you know. That night, from that night, I've not been the same person. Mentally, I'm messed up. I suffer from PTSD, and obviously, for stuff that happened in the past, it led to me losing my job. Right now, currently, I'm unemployed. But what we demand, we are demanding justice for these lives that died. People that died there, you know, people were screaming. So for me, it's always difficult to talk about it, because it's like, you just take me straight away back there. So I just try to compose myself as best as I can. But the government actually promises justice. You know, this was a previous government, and I do hope this current government can take up that lead and assure us that we are going to get justice. And we are also demanding justice. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Just wanted to bring in the Samimi family here. They lost their mother and their auntie, and so Rahel Samimi, Masumi Samimi, and Melina Samimi, who is a bright spark, because she's doing really well at university. We're very proud of you, because it has been particularly difficult for the young people who've had to keep going despite everything they're experiencing. Their futures are at risk when something like this happens. So Melina lost, obviously, grandma and auntie. So what would you like me to do? Do you want to speak through the interpreter? Yeah. Okay. I have a statement from them, but I think it's just better if they just speak through the interpreter. Okay. Thank you.
And thank you for echoing our voice about the injustice that has been done about this incident, so everybody can hear our side of the story.
دیروز بعد از 7 سال انتظار این کاری که همه ما دادگاه‌ها در انتظارش بودیم، یه عدالتی رو شنیدیم که همه ما رو ناراحت و عصبانی کرد.
So after waiting for 7 years for a final result, we heard this injustice that made things difficult for us, that was basically just not acceptable, what we heard.
ما از بازی این کاری انتظار شنیدن حرف‌های جدیدی داشتیم، به این دلیل که هفته‌های اول این کاری کاملا مشخص بود برای همه که متمرکز چه کسایی هستند و
So we were expecting to hear from the judge a new statement and new findings, so because we know from the beginning who were the people responsible for everything that happened in Grenfell, and the evidence was potent for everybody. So in the first weeks of the inquiry, everybody knew there were a problem with the firefighters. They weren't trained enough, they didn't have enough equipment, and the council was responsible for many shortcomings and many things that was, many policy, safety policies that was not implemented properly, and everybody knew from the early weeks that these are the evidence and who are responsible. So it was shocking for us to hear the same, again, the same thing to be repeated as we heard 7 years ago, and nothing new and no new findings were added. So in any part of the world when the manslaughter happened, there is a court, and a judge will prosecute the people who are, the person or people who are responsible for this crime. So it was not fair to